Okay, so before you get started playing anything, the best thing you can do is stretch your hands. Your muscles in your wrist, there are a lot of them, and it is very easy to injure your wrist. So you always want to be careful before even playing any sort of percussion instrument, and you should stretch your hands. So I'm going to go over a couple basic stretches. So there's different ways you can do this. There's more active ones and there's more passive ones, kind of like normal stretching. So there's one that I always like to start with is just kind of shaking your wrist out. So you should do that for probably about 10 seconds-ish. And then you can also, instead of going side to side, you can go up and down. And you'll usually hear a couple pops and clicks in there, and that's pretty good. It means it's doing what it's supposed to. Okay, so and by the way, I'm stealing these stretches from an old instructor's manual, so I'm going to be reading them. The first of the passive stretches you can do, you take your fist like this, and you put your fingers right here, and you gently push downwards. Don't push too hard because you don't want to injure your hand. You should feel it pulling in like this part of the wrist. It will pull slightly, and when you release from the stretch, release slowly. You should hold it for a few seconds just to get the maximum stretch, and then you switch hands and would do it on the other. Okay, so our next stretch. You take your hand like this, and you grab your fingers, not by the tips, not by the knuckles, right in between those. And you gently, very gently, because you can actually seriously injure yourself if you pull too hard, pull downward. You'll feel the stretch right in here and a little bit down here. And gently release. Take your time releasing. It's better to go slow on this. And then other hand, same thing. Okay, so our last passive stretch, sorry, there's a car that just pulled in. Our last passive stretch, you take your hand like this, put your other hand like this, and wrap around your pinky finger, and gently push backwards. Some people can, they're like slightly double jointed and will be able to push further. Do not try and push too far. Know your limitations. It shouldn't hurt. You should just feel a little bit of tightness. It's like when you stretch like your calves or your hamstrings. And then gently release this. And then other side. Another active stretch is it helps us with a four-mallet fulcrum kind of thing, which I'll talk about in later videos. So you take your hands like this and you just shake. And with Front Ensemble, a lot of the band doesn't realize this, but where we're standing so long and we don't end up moving, it actually can be a pain on your legs. So you do need to stretch those out. So you can get like the classics, like this, and then you can also, let me try and get this in the shot. You can grab your leg, do one of these, and just different stretches for your legs. I'm sure you guys know most of them. One more thing I need to talk about along with the lines of stretching. So when we stand at our mallet instruments, there is a specific way that we need to stand in order to get the best, to look kind of uniform and maximize our movements up and down the keyboard. So when you stand at the marimba, vibraphone, whatever you're playing, you want to have your legs just slightly past shoulder width apart. And you can practice this while you are practicing technique on a jump pad on the floor, wherever you're doing it. Just spread your legs slightly. You want to have your shoulders back and stand kind of tall, because front ensemble, we're up in the front of the band. This year we're going to be on the field, but it's still the same idea. Everyone can see us, and they're going to be looking to see what we're doing. So we need to represent the band very well. So you'll have your shoulders kind of back, your legs spread out, and when you move up and down the instrument, usually you don't entirely think about how you're doing it, but if you have to think about it, it's more of like a shuffle kind of thing. You go up and down, and then you maintain this position wherever you can. There are some faster runs that we'll probably encounter where it will be a little bit easier to go ahead and slide in the leg just a little bit, but most of the time you want to maintain this stance. Okay, I just went back and watched the video. I forgot to mention a couple things about your stance. I mentioned how you should do like the shuffle up and down the instrument. This is because we don't want to cross our legs, because if you cross your legs, you're just going to be in an awkward situation, especially if you're trying to move fast. So it's just easier to shuffle. When you move your body up and down the instrument, you don't just lean your side and have your legs stay in place. You need to move your entire body with it. Let's see. And I mentioned the stance you stand in. I forgot to mention, do not lock your knees, because that's a good way to end up passing out if you don't know that. It's good to have, not like, of course, bending your knees heavily, but like a slight bend that will maximize your instrument playing abilities.